Is ready. Now, we introduced ourselves. Maybe we didn't do a great introduction of our teams, but we've got Vassal who are coming in off of a 2-0, an FF victory over Melee Creep. So they have sailed a smooth sailing into the grand finals.
Yeah.
And yesterday on broadcast, we caught Spectre versus Skyline, and it was a Spectre 2-0 as well. And as we jump right on into it, Vassal, your Amber Hand, Spectre, your Sapphire Flame, and Vassal actually steal away the pocket. We know that was a big priority pick for Spectre yesterday.
Yeah, that was a big pick for Chola, who played it in both games. So not seeing the pocket kind of leaves a lot to be desired for what Chola is going to flex over to. There are definitely a lot of heroes that play quite like pocket that I'm sure Chola is going to be used to, that he's keeping in his back pocket for moments like this. But one thing for today that needs to change for Vassal is playing against the wave control that Spectre had against Skyline yesterday. I think that Spectre did a great job at commanding the map, dictating the pace, picking and choosing when to play for objectives, when to play for the urns, the mid-boss, and pick the fights in their field of view. So for Vassal, this is a team that I'm sure is going to be quite new, like Skyline, and you're coming into this one knowing that the Spectre team is very put together. They have their head on their shoulders, all things considered, even though they have a player named Headless on their team. And it's not a team that you want to kind of underestimate, because I think Spectre is very dangerous and kind of sneaky dangerous in the terms that they know what they're doing and they have a really good game plan. And not to mention, you've already given up two very powerful prio picks that we saw yesterday for them. Toxic Dotto playing on that Haze was very good at picking and choosing when to take those fights, isolating players and almost assassinating them in instances. And you match that with the Wraith of OFE, who was, I'd say, 5-6K souls up from anybody on the server throughout the entirety of that game number one. That's a dangerous combo to let go.
Yeah, 100%. And that's exactly why coming into this, we had a coin flip and Spectre win the coin flip and say, we don't want Amber Hand, right? We want to kind of force the envelope in way of, we want two power picks. So you can either ban away the pocket, pick away the pocket, Haze, Wraith, Pocket, Mirage are kind of like the four that would probably go off the rip. And that Mirage is still available for Spectre. We'll see if they opt into that one. Ivy and Abrams picked up on the opposite end. Abrams is a little interesting with the changes in healing, the changes in anti-heal, but also his Siphon Life. You start to build a little bit of spirit power on the Abrams and that Siphon Life range. It gets huge. So although it took a little bit of a hit in its strength, now with the size, I feel like that's a pretty big buff to that ability. Like, you lose the how much you're healing, but gain kind of I don't know, it's a buff towards being able to heal, whereas before sometimes that Siphon Life things get narrowly out of range, and then your Abrams is a big blue piece of paper.
Yeah, I think yesterday Abrams felt a lot more killable than we saw in the past, and those changes in the patch yesterday I don't think necessarily has taken away the healing or the anti-heal aspect of Deadlock. That's going to be a namesake for this game. It's the same throughout different MOBAs. It's going to be the same in this one as well. And that's not going to change no matter how much that they balance it. It's you can see that they're not trying to sort of nerf it or take you out of the game. They're just trying to make it feel a lot more comfortable playing against it for both sides. So I think that Abrams was in a good spot yesterday. It's not a hero that I expect to leave the meta anytime soon. I think Abrams is still very useful, especially for those initiations or trying to take someone and displace them out of a fight. So I don't hate to see the Abrams come out. You see it as well with the Paradox. That's some good setup when you have the paradoxical swap. The Moan Krill's out, Spectre Bandit. So having a Paradox who's going to be able to, catch somebody in lane, Paradox swap them, and then, try to jump them with one or two of your teammates. That's going to be a big moment for having a Paradox on the side of Vassal, and you can see that they're trying to build into what seems like very comfort picks for them. I think that Paradox is starting to become a very comfort pick for a lot of people.
Wait, so I was wondering where we would go with this, and I thought Vassal feeling a little too comfortable not picking up one of our hyper carries. Maybe because Spectre didn't play. Nobody played the Infernus yesterday, actually. And there was a world where it was available. And now Spectre take that away. So they've got the Haze, the Wraith, and now the Infernus. And they're really choking out this pool of very heavy onslaught damage dealers.
Yeah.
We've seen Vindicta try to fill that role, but it's not always easy to get that Vindicta online and in these fights. And they're still, that being Vassal, leaning away from feeling like they need some sort of hyper carry, like, what's available, that 7, that Yamato. It used to be great talent. Sorry, buddy, it's not you anymore. And, a Vindicta lock-in at the end would be a little scary. But this is an age-old matchup that we got a lot yesterday. With the resurgence of McGinnis and her turrets, Dynamo's picked on the other team. Hey, we're just going to pick that McGinnis because it's strong right now, and it's a huge counter.
I think that Spectre right now, they kind of round things off with either a Lady Geist or a Warden. We saw Lady Geist get picked up a lot yesterday by Asuka's, and so I don't think that it's going to change at all if you can pick that up, and it's still available, so I don't see why not. Bungus playing McGinnis, Bungus played McGinnis twice yesterday. That's not going to change either today with how strong McGinnis is looking with that bullet velocity buff and the buffs to turrets that we have for healing and, sustaining towards those fights. So that's going to be a big play. But Infernus is kind of what I was talking about with that pocket being stolen away by Vassal. You have somebody like Chola who likes to play the damage over time, that kind of chip away, that initiation, and very big, I'd say, space gainer, the pushback heroes, as I like to kind of call them when I'm playing it. And Infernus is kind of one of those. He's going to check you, make sure that you take that afterburn, and quite like Pocket, just chip away at that health slowly and slowly so your Haze or your Wraith can finish off those kills easier. So I think that's a good pickup for Chola. It's a good substitute for not having Pocket on board. And you can see that the 7 rounding out that Vassal lineup, that's something that you and I were kind of talking about yesterday that Skyline never really did. They were building their composition, but because they were giving up a lot of those power carries like your Haze or your Wraith, they were never going for power carries of their own. And 7, albeit, is not as strong a power carry, in my opinion. I think that it's very tough to get 7 online, and it's very easy to shut a 7 down, especially when you're playing Haze or Wraith. But ban it, get it out there. We don't want to play it, but you don't see a single team over in Europe banning that Viscous, and they're going for bans onto the Wraiths or the Hazes, some really powerful characters. And I know Viscous can be annoying, but this guy is not the hero that is make or breaking these games. I am not a big fan of the Viscous ban coming out from Vassal, and I think that there's just so much more against the Spectre team that you could have taken off the board that we're not seeing. So I think that's a lazy ban.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. You do your research and you'd understand kind of where the chips lied in way of the draft. What I am a fan of is that Vassal logo. We've got Vassal, your Amber Hand, Spectre, your Sapphire Flame. We are underway here on the Cursed Apple. Yesterday, we saw Skyline toying around with that 2-1-2-1 lane, playing a little aggressive. Speaking of, a little too aggressive there from Bruce, is forced to use that Quantum Entanglement to sneak away. And I mean, early in this one, we're already seeing, okay, never mind. The pressure was on from Spectre, but they actually give up first blood.
And this is not surprising either, because Skyline yesterday, the one thing I'll give them is that their laning phase was actually a lot better than Spectre's. It wasn't until like the 10-15 minute mark that Spectre actually would start to shift gears and turn things in their favor in terms of that soul lead or the way that they're taking these fights. And it's really because, somebody like Wraith or Haze aren't going to be quite active with their kits right off the get-go. It's going to take them some time to get going, and it's not surprising to see that Vassal, again, are looking to dominate this lane. I mean, Chola yesterday, he's playing Infernus this time back in the lane, but he was killed maybe 2 or 3 times back in that laning phase. And it still ended up Chola very powerful on that pocket. So all things considered, what we're seeing here, I expect Vassal to kind of put the pressure on to these objectives, but I want to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt.
Yeah, 100%. It was definitely a slow and steady wins the race feel for Spectre, and they're, doing their due diligence. They're giving that same respect that they gave Skyline yesterday, where they're not playing too overly aggressive, and they actually, obviously ending up getting punished for that first blood. It's different, though. We did see, I'm pretty sure OFB was solo laning in the first game, playing that Wraith, and is now working in tandem with Headless on that Kelvin. So going to be sharing some of those souls early in this game, because it was just a farming angle for OFE previously. Now it's hey, let's just hang out under our turret angle, because this Pocket Ivy combo is, it's not feeling too great.
No, it's not at all. It's a tough lane to be in too for both Pocket and And that Ivy, I'd say, playing against that Wraith or in the Kelvin, that Kelvin is going to really set this Wraith up for some very successful ganks as soon as that ice path fully gets leveled up. And it's another thing, OFE not playing in the solo lane this time, playing in the duo lane. So like kind of anticipating that it is going to be dominated right now by this Wraith. And it's a choice that I'm sure that, you know, OFE has really been thinking about here, almost catching out the Ivy of Craze Panda, but this is a very tough lane for the Pocket to be in, and you can see that even still, not confirming these kills going to force them back, though, and clear the wave.
Yeah, so unfortunate there. There was a very slight window where maybe Marky is able to find a return kill on the pressure that they put onto that Ivy, but unfortunately, just one target too many, right? Both Headless and OFE are there, and that Project Mind is just such a tricky tool to keep Wraith out of danger and over to safety.
One thing I think for Vassal that needs to be, or that can be a lot better, is we are in a little bit of a troublesome situation here for Marky to Sharky there. Headless collecting that kill for Spectre, but I was going to put my lights on this Dynamo pick for them, because Lilia yesterday on Skyline, I was a big fan of the Dynamo pick, and I don't think we really got to see Dynamo to its full effect and its full impact, and that's because Spectre, and it's probably what we're going to be seeing a lot today as well, are really good at paying attention to those that Dynamo movement, getting on the silences, and making sure that that Dynamo just can't get ult off.
Yeah, and I want to see more of Bite Size actually walking away from a 2v1 with a kill, punishing OFE for trying to gank there. This Abrams might be the catalyst for the squad that does keep Vassal in this one, as Chola does find a solo kill against Elusive in that side lane way out towards Park. So that Infernus 7 matchup, the back and forth continues, but finally Chola is able to get a little bit ahead of that one and has the ultimate just before the 7 does. So there's a world where Chola looks to get aggressive before that Storm Cloud is online.
We're adding into about the 5-minute mark. A little bit of a lead for Spectre just by 1k, but even still, we know that that can balloon very quickly, and we're starting to see a couple of these heroes start to get a little bit mobile to those camps. The McGinnis starting to look to clear them, get a couple of those boxes, as well as, you know, try to get some leads against their counterparts inside that lane. You can see that because of that early kill onto Bungus, it is about 6k lead, or 0.6k lead for the opposite end. You see the Paradox is quite ahead there on the one side, and that's something you gotta be a little bit worried about for Bungus in case that Paradox just starts to switch lanes.
Yeah, that Paradox already tried to rip an ult there, so Jacuzzi with that ultimate online looking to make plays in the side lanes. It does force Chola all the way back to base, so Jacuzzi going to be helping Elusive here in this lane. As once more Bite Size under fire on the opposite side of the map and is able to sneak away. Airdrop is on. Out comes the Stoneform. Unfortunately, doesn't find a target. Telekinesis is just a better Stoneform in way of stuns. And now Bite Size, the one targeted by the card trick, and will go down. Market Sharky finds himself in a really tough spot. Good affliction onto a few members, but inside the frozen shelter, everybody stays nice and healthy there for Spectre. So they're able to walk away, a kill to their name, but they haven't given up the pressure just yet.
Oh, and this is great wave clearing coming out from the side of Vassal. You can see that they're putting a lot of focus on making sure that this Guardian doesn't go down. Over towards green as well. That Guardian's still standing. They push that wave over to the opposite side of Spectre, and it gives that chance to kind of prove some support here. Trouble for Toxic. He's down to 100 health, sub 100 health for a second, but even still just trying to make sure that this Guardians can stay alive. Vassal are doing a fantastic job at killing these objectives. They take the one down over into yellow, as well as looking to get blues as well. Not going to finish the objective just yet, but that is a good amount of damage to worry about if you're Spectre.
Oh, man, and Elusive has to live up to his name, but he's got two players just running him down, and the Guardian is not enough help there. So there is a world where another Guardian gets cracked open out towards Park with McGinnis in this lane. We'll see if Bungus chooses to stay and help Cholo know instead. We'll back away, make sure that that Infernus is getting the solo souls, and we'll go help the lane of his own.
White side's going to be forced out. Even still, you're looking at OFE, a very main state for the side of Spectre yesterday on this Wraith. Still just tied up with the rest of the side of Vassal, not getting too far ahead. I'm not sure if that's just the case of Instead of solo laning, you're sharing the load of souls between you and your teammate in that dual lane. And maybe Olfi just going to take a little bit longer to get active, but it looks like the chase is on over towards green, and Spectre are looking to put on the gear shift here and see if they can catch some of these players. Fortunately enough for the Vassal, they do escape, and we got
money's worth in way of calling attention to himself.
He's been trading very well on top of, you have an objective as well if you're bite-sized, so you're doing everything that you need to do on this Abrams. So I don't disagree with you whatsoever. On top of that, I mean, you just look at the way that Vassal are handling the map, and they have 2 objectives down, both the Guardian in blue as well as the Guardian in yellow, and a good amount of damage over towards purple as well, all while dealing with these ganks that Bungus has been throwing at them. So they're doing just a great job at making sure that even though they're fighting, they're still worrying about the state of the game.
Yeah, stuns out there from Chola. Unfortunately, doesn't find too much in that wall. The time wall, it's hard to shoot through, so Chola just forced to back away on the back line. So yeah, Bungus has that heavy barrage on, forced to give that one up. Heals available out from Headless, but it looks like the call is to retreat for now. That Guardian still stands, so it's not the best place to fight. It looks like a 3v2 on the minimap, but definitely a 3v3 if that Guardian is in the mix. And it looks like Vassal have done enough to hang on to this lane and keep that pressure moving the other direction.
Again, that's a 2v3 that Vassal just wither out, and nothing really comes from it. You can see over towards green, that still Spectre are struggling in terms of these waves. Another gank that was unsuccessful for Spectre that cost them a piece of the objective on the map. And I think for Vassal, you look at this and you're laughing. You're saying, all right, we'll take that all day and yesterday too. So that is a fantastic trade for Vassal. You can see that that soul lead is starting to gain. You get caught out here if your bite size should be burnt down. The seismic slam not getting away, lands on top, blocked by the spectral wall, but I'm not sure if Bungus is going to get this one right away. Going to take a little bit to hunt down this Abrams, and the IV has come as well. The Watcher's Covenant should keep them healthy, and it's just everything is going wrong for Spectre in terms of these ganks, and they're not confirming anything on the map, and this soul lead is starting to fall a little bit behind.
Yeah, and this is almost the inverse of what we saw yesterday, right? Spectre was the team that was getting pressured a little bit, but they were finding objectives to stay in the game, and then they eventually just started to run away, especially in game 1. And Vassal are giving them that same treatment. They're absorbing all of this pressure. They're okay to take it because elsewhere on the map, they're able to make plays. And, 50,000 souls, you've got a flex slot open. We know that a couple more spirit items just came into the game. So for our heavy punchers like Abrams, for our heavy shooters or our arcane surge users, not arcane surge, that's the item that you would use, but I was thinking kinetic dash users, right? Having that flex spot means a lot for our spirit users in this game. So Vassal already getting themselves a nice little lead. Buffs are up, buffs have been taken, and now it's a call for the urn, and it looks like Spectre might be the one to go for this. No, they want to continue to pressure bite size, and this is just not the guy, Seymour. This guy is unkillable. He's
not falling. I mean, this guy is like the Great Wall. He's standing, he's ready to fight, and he's holding them back. And you see the Quantum Entanglement actually going to dismiss the effects of the stun from Chola. Back in with the Singularity and his 3 people in turn. The Seismic Slam in towards the Cloud. The Storm Cloud is doing so much damage and just finishing off the pressure. 5 players to answer to that pressure, and another Guardian to boon.
Wow. I mean, a huge turnaround there. This time, it's the fight and the objective there from Vassal, and you mentioned it in the middle of that fight. Concussive Combustion, Chola says, hey, let's get active, and the Quantum Entanglement completely nullifies that. It takes him out of the fight for a second, sure, but it doesn't get the stun, which means it's just, a moment of invulnerability and then moments extra of attack speed.
Olfi in trouble. They use the TP to get all the way back over towards yellow. Olfi thought he had a free Guardian, but instead 4 players tracking him down, calling for the rest of the team to help as well. Bungus trying to get the Walker stunned up and dropped 6 feet under. Spectre trying to climb their way back. They give up Park and they try to push in towards the Guardians of both blue as well as yellow, and they might get 1 Guardian, but instead they're just handing these kills over to Vassal.
Yeah, definitely not favorable by any means. And then Headless just getting caught on the wrong part of town. Bite Size jumps on over to help Elusive with the elusive Kelvin, who almost snuck away. That's also Frozen Shelter down, so that ultimate won't be online the next time we see Headless back in the fight. So this game has been all Vassal. A couple of skirmishes that weren't going their way, but now they've completely flipped that script.
And Tanner, think about it. Just look how far Yellow's pushed off. That's 2 walkers for Vassal. 72k souls to 61k, and the urns being run right now. So you can see that in reaction, Spectre are going to push through Park, take down the walker on the opposite side, try to force this urn down, well, just trying to recover any semblance of control to this game that they can, but it is a tough deal to find themselves in, but it does look like they're going to fight for this urn. Well, Elusive does fall. Chola is traded.
Now, 1 for 1, so the urn fight, should it come to fruition,
I think they're giving it up.
it'll be even, but yeah, it looks like Spectre just forced to give this one up. Traveler available, but there's no way for Headless and Bungus to get to that side of the map. So a free urn, which, I mean, obviously this doesn't feel great. Maybe there's a world where the next urn is in your favor for Spectre, but free souls and free AP to Bite Size, that's got to feel pretty good for Vassal.
All things considered, with how much pressure has been down onto the chest of these Spectre players for the past, I'd say, 4 or 5 minutes, trading out 2 walkers, all your guardians, and urn, and getting all the guardians destroyed, as well as a walker over towards purple, that's not a terrible trade. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. They could still be sitting with all guardians up. So Spectre did a good job at kind of recognizing, you know, what they can take while giving that up, and they have managed the map very well. So down by about 8k souls, they are not out of this game whatsoever. Just one good fight, maybe an urn, and they're right back into what could be a tie sold.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the call, right? We just now get that reset. Urn is up, Headless, flirting with the idea of picking that one up. Both buffs went the way of Spectre, so they're, although down 6k in souls, you know, that number a little skewed. If we can get Bungus and OFE into the fight, they've got those buffs that it technically act as an item. Previously, before the changes to the buffs, it was about equivalent to a 3k soul item. Yeah. Now, because they're scaling throughout the game, I maybe we could say at this point in the game a 1250 item.
I would
that's
agree with that.
Great timing.
Yeah, it's another neutral urn. So I think this is what kind of Vassal we're trying to see, if they would have a neutral urn or not. So the Ivy ultimate is going to carry this so far away now that Ivy, the ultimate scales with sprint on top of how fast you go. So you can see that that is quickly going to get over there. Chola going to try to shut this one down, but you got to be careful. Everybody is here, and Chola's caught out. You have the Dynamo who's going to connect, pulls you up and towards the air. Make sure that you cannot disrupt this urn from being collected. It is returned, and the Paradoxical Swap's going to catch out the Mirage as well, trying to get away as Asuka, and I just don't think that's going to be on the table. Asuka's taken down, and the Mirage sent back to the respawn. Another urn for Vassal.
Yeah, and I mean, the comms, right? The communication for whether or not Spectre are going to fight, that seemed all over the place. Almost immediately, Chola tried to pressure the urn turn in. Came up, hey, here's a heavy melee. Ivy gets out of there. Speaking of Ivy, that health bar getting ripped through. Stone form going to keep Crazed Panda alive for now. Dotto going to be on the chase, but doesn't want to go much further than that. But all in all, Traveler used just for Asuka's to die. That feels awful. Yeah. And they lose the urn. I mean, you see the soul lead now. It's just continuing to push the meter in favor of Vassal and the Amber Hand.
And they lose a walker. They might lose Dotto as well going into the bullet dance, but it's stopped by the singularity, and Bite Size is going to finish off that Haze. Greenwich Walker should be going down very shortly. OFE was able to push down towards yellow and now has returned back to the team, but the team is gone, and this is not a fight you want to take. You're going to give up your Walker and just count your chickens before they've hatched right now and what you can claim right now.
It's tough to watch. Everything working in favor of Vassal right now between you know, surviving fights and getting objectives, now to finding really clean team fights. There was a lot going on around that Walker, and We saw a huge affliction out from Marky, and now the rejuve's coming down. There's a world where maybe we see it go the opposite direction. No, unfortunately, not this world that we live in. That one will be secured, and the pressure was already mounting and seemed a little too much for Spectre, but now with the Super Troopers, now with the Rejuvenator, right now for the next 3 minutes, if Spectre find a window where they finally can come back into this and they can finally win a team fight, it almost feels like, I don't want to say it's all for naught, but with the Rejuvenator online, Vassal can afford to make mistakes right now.
It's just, you gotta not only do it once, but you have to do it twice now.
Yeah.
If you're Spectre, and that's where it gets difficult, because so far for Vassal, yes, they've made mistakes, but they've rarely made the same mistake twice in a row. I think Vassal has done a fantastic job at shutting down these potential carries for Spectre. With Toxic Data, we haven't seen any sort of ganking from this Haze that has actually turned into a successful kill or has caught somebody overextending. Vassal are showing respect. This is very controlled. They're not giving things away for free, and they're playing that buddy system really well. Also, in terms of just absorbing that pressure, you can see again, Bungus this time is going to be caught overextending, and for Spectre, I think the disconnect has actually been in their field so far throughout this game, and I'm very not impressed with the way that Spectre are playing. This is just a totally different show than what we had yesterday.
I definitely feels like Spectre didn't respect Vassal as much as they should coming into this one. It seemed like their draft was solid. Their draft was good, but they just get punished around the map, and now they're forced to watch as a few of their base guardians do go down. 6 players strong are Vassal on the outside of this one, and Spectre are still waiting for the respawns. Asuka's still waiting to come on back, looking at that gray screen. Flex slot unlocked for base guardians and a shrine now, so it is open game here for Vassal in way of items, and the fight is here. Spectre gonna try and take it. Mirage is back on the table. Headless gone. No frozen shelter here for the squad. Paradoxical Swap gonna find something, put the Paradox a little too deep, but eventually able to just walk out of that one for free. The Patron to be reset into the pit. The death timers helped just a bit, but Vassal, I mean, happy to walk away with what they've got from that fight.
Yeah, very happy as well. This elusive 7 pick is something that we haven't really highlighted too much, but the damage output of the 7 has been very strong against everybody on the side of Spectre, and just it's because of the follow-up towards this Abrams and the fact that the spacing that you're getting alongside the Dynamo, the Abrams, and the Paradox, as well as the Pocket, just allows 7 so much range to just pick away, deal damage, use your shock to chain as well from player to player, and it hasn't been, I'd say, the carry for the team just yet, but Elusive is just setting things up so that Marky to Sharky as well as Bite Size can just get in there and finish off whatever they need. So Bite Size, really the player that has been stealing the show so far on this Abrams. The technical abilities from this player has just elevated this team to a point where we really didn't see Skyline match up. Alongside that, Bruce's setups with these singularities or these quantum entanglements has been just taking them out of so many situations that yesterday Spectre were fighting Skyline in.
Yeah, we saw a brief look that Abrams build does have that new Spirit Snatch item, so it just emphasizes the melee so much more for this Abrams. You're getting more damage on top of it. You're stealing away resistances, and you're stealing away spirit damage, right? So any spirit user, which is basically everybody on the opposite side, you take a couple of punches from Bite Size, and you're not feeling so good, Mr. Stark. You're feeling a little scrawnier than before.
Well, right now, Spectre, they've pushed a wave all the way down towards purple, but I don't think that's going to matter. They have a fight to worry about in their base, and there's no patron to give them a 20-second respawn cooldown shortened anymore. This is it for them. This is their final stand.
Yeah, Paradoxical Swap missed, though. That won't be available. Frozen Shelter comes down, but it's canceled immediately, and Bite Size just right into the fight. A shoulder charge onto 2, but finds himself staring down the face of 4 as the singularity comes through. It's a quick dismissal of the members here of Spectres are forced back into their base, and that Patron now soon to be under fire. The Shrine on the opposite side is being pressured, but it just doesn't matter. There's no way back into this one. Concussive Combustion, not going to find too much. Telekinesis now coming through. OFE just trying to hang on. Another Singularity refresher here for Bruce. should secure the game. And they've just about done it. That will be game 1.
Those objectives and keep so much attention on himself. It allows for the rest of the team to scale very quickly. For Elusive, I mean, he's happy for this one, but on top of that, the reactions that we were getting from Bruce, 11 assists on this Dynamo. I feel that every single time you and I were just going, wow, can't believe that just happened. It was Bruce just out of nowhere with a singularity or a quantum entanglement to shut down Chola's concussive combustion. It's such a very strong support character that I'm happy to see paying off. I think, Tanner, you were kind of bringing it up and talking about that triple carry that they were going for alongside the Wraith, the Haze, and the Infernus. That really splits the load in terms of who's going to be the one farming and who's going to be the one actually pushing these lanes. So it's just Spectre, I think they got to go back to the drawing board and kind of what really favors their team and not really favoring them as individuals.
Yeah, and so now that we go into game 2, we just swap sides. Spectre are going to be Amber Hand, and they're going to take that first ban, Paradox. And we'll see, okay, Viscous also taken away. Now, there is a world where obviously Viscous got really strong with the changes to the ball, and it just being, the ball is already a problem, but now that it's huge and it does a lot of damage and stuns everybody, they don't want to deal with that. But with this new Spirit Snatch item, there's a world where a couple of puddle punches later and you have all your resistances gone from downtown. I could see if that's been a problem the last couple of days, with the Viscous.
I don't fault them for the Viscous. I just think that it's a very broad ban rather than, right now, the strength of Spectre and you can really shut them down with a few bans here. Taking out that Wraith would be very impactful towards OFE, force him onto that Yamato. And the Yamato yesterday, it was good, but it wasn't as power carry as it was as the Wraith in that game number 1. But because you get Amber Hand for that first pick, you get the pocket for Cholo right away. So they go for that immediately. And I like that from Vassal. They steal away the Wraith. So they're already thinking ahead on how they can upgrade their team.
Yeah, and if I think, like you mentioned at the top, right, the 3 carries, if you're not getting ahead, then you're really just sapping your team of souls. Yeah. I think looking back at it, Spectre they just overcooked the draft a little bit. They were able to choke out all of the hyper carries or most of the hyper carries. It felt like they weren't really picking what they should pick.
No, I agree.
Picking for themselves. They were, again, overcooking. But yes, Chola on that pocket, super comfortable. Is going to find way more value. It's going to be hard to quantum entangle an Affliction if Dynamo makes its way back in.
Tanner, I know what happened in game 1.
What's that?
You can't have the fire guy and the ice guy on the same team. You can't have them on the same team. It cancels each other out. And so, maybe that's just where Chola went wrong. But Mo and Krill's open this time, and this is the first time that we've seen Spectre actually go for the Mo and Krill. We didn't see them play it at all yesterday.
Yeah, and it was actually a ban. I don't think Mo got some changes, but they weren't incredible changes, right? The alt now pulls people in. If you're getting eliminations off of the alt, then you're getting a little bit more HP. So there's a world where we do see a very tanky Mo and Krill, but I didn't think it was enough. And maybe this is a pick. Maybe they've done their research, and because they banned it last time and they're picking it this time, they're taking it away from somebody. But because we haven't seen it, we're like, who takes Mo?
I'm pretty sure that the combo actually gives you more healing as you're hitting, as you're striking with the combo too. So you mix that with Divine Kevlar. Now you're a very more present Mo and Krill rather than, having to get, maybe Metal Skin or something to save you in those situations. So we see the Infernus as well stacked on top of the pocket. That is 2 characters that do similar things towards each other. So that's a very interesting, I'd say, hero to go for, especially when the Yamato is still up, with the Mirage still up as well. The Vindicta was played yesterday too and was very good for Spectre. I'm pretty sure that they were playing it versus Skyline. It was the Vindicta, I think, played against them. It was played against them. It was Connor who was playing it. So Vindicta's still up, Lady Guy's still up. There's a lot of people or a lot of heroes that I'm surprised Infernus is a 3rd pick here.
It is a little interesting. I don't want to say that the Infernus completely rivals the Wraith, and although it is that facilitator type, kind of that, hey, we want to try and push you off of this type, like the Pocket is, it's also just good for looking at people and shooting them down, right? It's the same thing. It's not as bursty as the Wraith, but this is probably a pick that I would think maybe goes to OFE, where, I think if they pick the Haze here, I would love to see that actually from Dotto. OFE, Infernus, Haze coming out for Dotto.
Warden.
Because, like we said, having 3 carries, somebody's getting sapped. This time around, it could look different. So we'll see where that Haze goes. It is going to be that Warden lock-in who, you alluded to it, maybe picking that up in the previous game. It definitely adds a lot of oomph into this team in way of pushing somebody back, kind of like that Pocket does, right? Last Stand comes on, and everybody's like, well, I don't know if I want to fight anymore.
Some people in Europe are playing Warden with the Unstoppable. It gives you it takes away the debuff from the anti-heal, so it gives you like 100% lifesteal inside of your Last Stand, as well as the duration of both Unstoppable and Last Stand are very similar, so you kind of get the most bang for your buck in that combo. But you're seeing, I'd say this is a more full composition for Spectre in terms. You see that Mo and Krill kind of acts like the paradox that Vassal had in the previous game, just looking to really set up a lot of these engagements. You have the Warden who can follow up with that, same with the Pocket or the Infernus. Dynamo getting picked as well. I imagine that's going to be Headless playing the Dynamo as a more supportive character. And I think for the opposite side, you had it was Bruce, who was actually very, very strong on this Dynamo and was making the most with that singularity or the quantum entanglement. And you think about that quantum entanglement and where it's going to get you out of: telekinesis, frozen shelter. It's going to stall that out for a little bit, get you away from the Kelvin, maybe even get you away from a Lady Geist. Now that's getting picked up by Vassal. There's a lot that this Dynamo can help, and I think that Dynamo is very it's underappreciated. I love my Dynamo players.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Bruce didn't go back to it, right? They opt into the Kelvin. It's probably Bruce sporting that one, piloting that hero there when the Dynamo did look as good as it did for Bruce. But Kelvin obviously offers a lot more to the squad. Lady Geist getting locked in. Lady Geist, we talked about it yesterday, didn't really receive any hits, which is, what I think it was, she damages herself less when she uses that Essence Bomb. That's it. So to everybody who got kind of X'd on their healing and their anti-heal, Lady Geist is still sitting pretty, right? It's going to be just as strong and just as tanky, and it is a very hard target to choose, right? You go after a Wraith, you probably get turned on and killed. Ivy's got the stone form, Mirage can teleport away, or tornado away rather, and Lady Geist, when she's got her ult online, you just want to leave her alone.
Yeah, I think, Lady Geist is just one of those, you're reading down the patch notes, you're just like, hey, this person has been taken or nerfed on their anti-healing, nerfed on their healing. It's like, where's the Lady Geist? It's just one thing. It has nothing to do with anything that everybody else is getting nerfed on. That's crazy. But Haze getting topped off for the Spectre.
Love that.
Dato's going to go back for this one. And now you see that the Haze isn't going to have any rivals in terms of that farming for their side. Yes, the Infernus is going to want to scale, but not really necessarily the main focus, I'd say, for the Infernus. It's definitely still a little bit more tame in terms of that farming prowess. It's going to be a very much a more secure game for Dotto to play this Haze in Rome, but it's still difficult though for Dotto because you have to worry about the Kelvin as well as Mirage maybe catching you in that tornado, Ivy Storm form, the telekinesis from the Wraith. So it's going to be really tough to actually pick who you want to go in on right now if you are Toxic Dotto playing that Haze, because there's not really many good options, because even if you jump onto that Lady Geist in with the Warden, that's going to be a strong lane to have for the Haze, considering that the Haze isn't very powerful right off the get-go. Having a Warden right next to you to maybe catch somebody in that Binding Word is just going to set this Haze up to deal a lot of gun damage, but it's kind of as expected. Solo lanes, Lady Geist versus an Infernus, Mirage versus a Pocket. Those are going to be some hotly fighting battles against each other, and I imagine that this is going to be really fun to watch who takes control.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's actually Asuka's on the Infernus. I thought Asuka's kind of playing the supporty beefcake style. I think a little bit of Lady Geist yesterday, the Mirage, obviously. I thought Warden was headed that direction, but OFE is actually going to be sporting that Warden, so we'll see how well or if that goes well. That's Crazy Panda back on the comfort pick here. Headless, there is... Okay, not Headless going down, as I say, thank goodness. It's actually Bungus to fall, so some early pressure again. Wait, Bungus gave up first blood in game 1 as well.
Yeah, and you know that was the McGinnis this time. Bungus playing on the Mo and Krill. I thought it was going to be
Did somebody say
Mungus.
Mungus?
Among Us, but no, we're gonna see the Mo and Krill coming out for Bungus this time, and I was kind of a little bit expecting that because you know you have both the Mo and Krill and the Dynamo. I wouldn't put the Mo and Krill into more of a supporting hand. I think the Dynamo fits that a lot better. Mo and Krill is going to be more the setup guy, just like the Paradox usually is, and using that ultimate to gank and set up kills and make sure that that kill happens fast because of the extra health you get for getting a kill right after it. But you can see some movement going on for both sides. A lot of pressure coming out from Spectre so far over and towards green. They're pushing wave underneath Guardian, and it's the opposite on the other end. Bite size extremely low on this Mirage. Has to be very cautious against a pocket, especially in the hands of Chola.
Yeah, the Scarabs are out, though. Scarabs taking away some of that HP, and it wants to go aggressive.
Oh.
We trade heavy melees, and Bite Size comes out on top.
That's something a lot of players need to be a little bit more cautious with, too. I saw some clips today of, you know, players starting to get the hang of, you know, hiding behind a natural cover and expecting the melee to come around the corner and parrying it. And that could have been a situation where it would have been a pretty easy kill against somebody like that Mirage in that moment. I think Bite Size very lucky to get away from that considering how low both of them are. But we see some fights over towards green. Pressing the aggression is going to be Bungus on this Mo and Krill and actually forcing back both the Lash and the Kelvin in their lane.
Yeah, Marky now on that Lash. Same playmaker style. It's much like we've seen Idorian play, right? That pocket and that Lash respectively, where you can get in, you can do a lot of damage, you can get out if you need to, or you can keep on pressing forward. So we'll see how Marky continues to pilot that one after finding first blood early in this. And you know, 3:30 into the game. It's a very small lead, but it is a lead for Vassal. We'll see how long they can hang on to it, because game 1, they got the lead, and they did not let it go. And now green the lane where 3 players are pushing aggressively for Vassal, trying to pressure again this Dynamo and Bungus, both Headless and Bungus underneath the Guardian. On the opposite side, Crazed Panda's been left all on their lonesome to try and hang on to that lane. Finally, the Wraith and Bruce will make their way back in.
That's just very kind of comfortable from Wraith, being as, I mean, you can literally TP from one lane to the other, especially inside of those inner lanes. So trying to provide a little bit of support there to the rest of your squad and get back towards that Ivy right away. Burrow into the score, and hey, that Mo's lucky to be alive, but that's the thing about Mo and Krill is really... You can go into 2 members and tank so much damage.
362 healing off of that Scorn there. And when that happened, Mo was up at 400 and something health. So sitting at 100 health and then healing up 360, that feels pretty darn good. So the nerfs there to that Scorn, not slowing Bungus down. However, again, they are just kind of forced underneath their Guardian. No real pressure. And we're going to see that probably for the next 500 souls, right? Needing that combo and that singularity online. It does feel a little awkward that they're laning together because they do the same. And speaking of lanes, so things are getting dicey here. Chola asking for a little bit of help. Bite size, okay. Sleep Dagger doesn't actually land. The cards are out. Telekinesis there as well with ultimates online. It's Vassal on top again. Bruce collecting that kill with Bite size, allowed the assist.
And you'll see this. The Ivy's now coming in to catch the rest of them. OFE's going to be in trouble on this Warden, just in enemy territory. The Stone Form's going to stun this one up. 2 members here to collect that kill, and that's another unsuccessful gank from Spectre, something that plagued them all through game 1.
And Ivy right back into this lane. Crazed Panda maybe looking to keep this pressure on. No, is actually just looking to hit a shot. This one seeming to be the closest. We'll see what the response is there. And with all of this pressure, Chola's still waiting to get that Affliction online. This pocket having to play so safe and is having to do it again. Parry on the Guardian there. Tornado. Chola goes up. Chola dances away there. We love the elusivity of the pocket, but it might not be enough. Jin Smart might get the job done. We'll see if that ticks down to find it. Crazy Panda hanging out for a little too long, but finds the kill, and Stoneform's out to safety.
250 health as well. That should be enough to get back over towards this Guardian, finish it off. But there's 3 members from Spectre pushing in towards blue. They're going to take a Guardian in trades and continue this back and forth of objective that wasn't as present back in game number 1. But it's nice to see that that's on the mind of these Spectre players in game number 2. They're going to return to their respective lanes. And it looks like Trolla is still in trouble in a 2-on-1 over towards purple. It's going to call for some players maybe to jump in on towards this Mirage. Toxic Dato's going to arrive, and soon enough, OFE is not too far around the corner.
Such a great job there. It hurts for Vassal. I'm going to hold that thought as we got Singularity coming down. Frozen Shelter to try and heal everybody up as the burrow comes through and Haymakers being thrown. But Bungus can't find anything there. Forced to back away. Death Slam behind the wall. Bungus survives. We'll see if Marky can make good on this to pick up both kills in this lane. Instead, Bungus gonna jump on in, jump on out, still dancing around this one, and he's got absolutely no help. Bungus biting off way more than he could chew.
Yeah, I don't know what Bungus thought. I mean, Mo and Krill's fun and all, but that's a throw in the fight, jumping into 2 players without even any help there. And a Singularity, even with a Mo and Krill, is just not enough to finish off those players over towards green. Stoneform right deep onto Chola. The telekinesis as well. Biting word is there from OFE, but there's so much assistance onto Crazy Panda that it's a 2-for-1 trade along with a Guardian in purple. Vassal again just dominating in terms of map control.
And yesterday we saw this from Chola. We saw Chola get behind, was a little uncomfortable in lane, but eventually made good on having this comfort pick that is Pocket. This right here, though, this feels so far from uncomfortable. This feels like just straight pain from Vassal that they're putting on Chola.
It's not the same, because instead of having that assistance onto Chola, you know, having your teammates there to bring you back and maybe take some of that pressure away, anytime somebody comes to gank this purple lane, it's 2 members dying on Spectre, and maybe you get a kill onto a player from Vassal. It's just Vassal's decision-making into what's possible and which fights you want to take is so intelligent. And it's leaving so much to desire from the Spectre. And what we thought was going to be a very easy series from them is now showing a lot of weakness in terms of, I think, I don't want to say it's ego, but it's definitely some overconfidence in terms of their play.
And they're looking again, looking to make plays with Crazed Panda. Airdrop is out, telekinesis as well. Unfortunately, Dato, I mean, it's a very short story here in that one that ends in Dato's death. Just no way out of that one. A lot of pressure down Broadway for Spectre with the Guardian already gone. It does feel like anywhere in this lane can feel overextended, and they stepped up a little bit too far and got punished for it.
You look at the Traveler over towards yellow. They want this last, or another Guardian. Vassal are ready to go take it. So they're going to take that yellow Guardian. You can see that 3 members on 3 are playing over towards green. So it seems like they're sizing each other up, seeing if they can find an opening. The Death Slam is available. You don't have that telekinesis right away in case you want to get active on this Wraith. But if you get a good Death Slam, that can completely set up this Kelvin to chip away at these members. And this Lash as well has been doing so much damage.
And Bungus keeps stepping out of lane, leaving Headless all alone on the Dynamo, and they're just whittling away at this Guardian, trying to get something back here for what they lost in blue. And now, Death Slam not used there? No, it was just a grapple up top. OFE does make their way on over. Toxic Dato not too far off. Looks like maybe at that secret shop and could make an appearance. 4 members from both teams are flirting with the idea of fighting in this green lane to see who can get the next Guardian.
Well, I mean, you were a little bit worried about the soul distribution back in game number 1, especially for Toxic Dato on this Haze. Still sitting around 7k souls, which is equal to the majority of the players on Vassal and behind actually a good amount of them. This is a Wraith on Bruce that is up 11k souls, leading this whole entire lobby and just getting so much done.
Huge.
The singularity's big, but it's only enough to allow an escape for Asuka. I'm not sure Headless is going to get away, going to try his best with the movement here on the Dynamo, but that was a mission that you are not going home on.
Unfortunate there. Yeah, just no response. Did the job of getting Asuka's out of there, but Headless ending up going down. I mean, it's the lesser of two evils, right? It's the 6,000 net worth Dynamo dying instead of the 9,000 net worth Infernus and giving up a little bit more, but it still doesn't feel great. And Crazed Panda, who's been so good, gets caught into that combo. And yeah, it was absolutely huge and does manage to get taken down. Bungus able to secure that kill. So a solo kill to Bungus means that Mo is feeling a little bit better. And that net worth on the Mo just jumped on up.
Well, it looks like it's going to be Walker for Walker here, as the green Walker is going to go down for Spectre. They take Vassal's purple, as well as they're getting some pressure over from the lady guys towards yellow. So you can see that quickly Asuka as well as Headless are looking to cover their tracks and see if they can fill this gap that's providing. But here comes Bruce and this Wraith, and this is looking a little bit difficult to match up against. Elusive is here as well. The Frozen Shelter goes down, and this is getting a little bit busy.
Yeah, Death Slam onto one Frozen Shelter. Going to buy a little bit of time there for Jacuzzi and the rest of the squad, but it looks like it's Vassal who are being forced back. Health bar's getting low. Marky just around the corner. Tries to slide out to safety. Looks to zip on through and will not make it out. So Vassal, the team to bite off more than they can chew this time. 4 members die, and the urn is ripe for the taking.
Well, hold on. Urn's going to be picked up here, but there's some objective that you'd like to grab as well. And pushing in towards green, grabbing this yellow one. You're losing purple walkers, so you need to start shoving these lanes if you're Spectre. You got no time for this urn, and even if you do, you're missing out on Singularity. You have the combo, but you don't have Death Dance or Last Stand. You're going in against a Telekinesis as well as a Soul Exchange and an Airdrop. That is not a fight that I would expect you to win if you're a Spectre.
No, and I mean, Spectre and Vassal, they're doing the age-old trade, right? 3 players immediately come out of the gates and know they're actually going to teleport to try and fight for this urn. There's no way they're here in time, right?
They are. They're right alongside him. The Tornado's going to be in. Cholo's got the Affliction down, but Bruce has already finished off Headless. This Wraith is just shredding through the side of Spectre, and there's nothing they can do about it. They're just delivering the urn on a silver platter for Vassal to add to the soul lead.
That's heartbreaking. I thought we were going to see the trade in objectives because that Walker is so low and 3 players were pushing down. But they make the timing on the teleporter. And yeah, now they can just waltz on over while the pocket is dead. Even if the pocket comes back, no affliction. I mean, it just means such a weak pocket in the team fight here. But it does look like Spectre have read this as well. And they understand that this Walker's under fire.
No bullet dance, but you have the Singularity. Last Stand going to be coming up if this is prolonged, but the Singularity's going to catch them. Here comes the Haze with the Death Slam to throw him away. That keeps Vassal alive. Bruce going to end up going down, and Crazed Panda caught as well over towards the blue lane. It looks like the hunt for Spectre successful for 3 kills, but Vassal still trying to get away to protect their base.
Yeah, another kill across the map. They find Jacuzzi, and everything is starting to work for Spectre. It seemed the opposite. It seemed, okay, Death Slam stopped this huge Singularity that we just got, but instead, they had so much damage in the reserve still, and they're able to turn that around once more. Bruce went down. Crazed Panda went down. Both ultimates were available. That's heartbreaking. Vassal have to use their utility.
I mean, Spectre just got a second lease on life for this game. Vassal was doing, again, everything picture perfect, quite like game number 1. And then in an instant, it seems like the team fighting decision-making for Spectre has leveled up again. Back to what we saw from the semifinals yesterday. This team is awake, and you're seeing some of the soul lead start to distribute across some of these players. 19k on the Mo and Krill. You gotta watch out for those combos because it can really catch you alongside that Scorn. Chola trying to escape. Bite Size gonna chase him down, but even still, this Haze on Toxic Dado, 16k, slowly caught up to this Wraith that pulled out to 11k very fast. And that lead that once was for Vassal, now they have to start thinking twice about the way they approach these fights. Another urn is going to be run. It's neutral again.
Yeah, not yesterday. Last game, which feels like yesterday ago, the way the teams are playing now. Last game, Vassal were able to do whatever they wanted. Now they're trying to do that, but it's not going their way. They just need to slow down for a second here, because the game is still within reach, right? You can't just try and force things down, especially with changes to the walkers. The more enemies that are pushing a walker, the tankier the walker gets. When allies are by the walker, the allies are getting resistances, right? So fighting that close to the walker in any way, shape, or form is a losing battle. So Vassal just need to slow down, right? We've got buffs. Well, I guess buffs are a little out of reach. That urn is really the next big play here, and well, it's in the hands of Spectre.
Well, it does look like for a second we saw them bleed, and they looked human for once.
Yeah.
And I think Spectre, yes, you're back into this game, but you don't want to kind of play the same card that Vassal just did and bite off more than you can chew. They are doing a good job at shoving these lanes onto other sides. They have to clean up over towards green, but blue is being managed, purple is being pushed up. You see the Kelvin's already rotated around, and all pressure from their lanes are gone, and it looks like it's going to proc possibly a fight over towards blue right now, where you're coming in. Singularity is going to be active soon, and you still have that combo as well as this Mo and Krill looking very dangerous.
Yeah, there's the combo, and here's the shred out from Toxic Dado there. Chola awarded the kill, and they want more on this one. Project Mind gonna try and sneak Bruce away. The health is low, and now eventually is 0 as Market Sharky also going to follow. And objectives aside, Spectre aren't even looking at it. They want to play for the fights. They've done it well. And like you said, mid-boss now on the table, and only one player in the area, that being Elusive, to maybe do something about this.
If this tornado is big enough, maybe. Just maybe, but no, they're going to give it up. Suka's going to collect that, and the Rejuvenator this time for Spectre. Vassal, they got a very fast back in game number 1, and that's where this game snowballed out of proportion. But Urn is up. You can run that if you're Spectre right now. It's not going to be in the base of Vassal just yet. I'm pretty sure it's just a neutral one. It is, so that's a good setup for Spectre to comfortably hop into this one. Still have Singularity as well. Telekinesis will be available, but we've been seeing Spectre managing against this Wraith very well, avoiding the Telekinesis and even shutting it down at times.
Yeah, and we're also looking at a Dynamo game where the Dynamo has a lot of extra freedom. Sure, the Death Slam can be a little stinky, but outside of that, you know, with the loss of love for McGinnis, that wall, there isn't a lot to stop the Singularity. So we've seen a lot from Headless in way of finding ways into this fight and finding value, and can do it, I don't want to say with ease, but can do it a lot of the time without fear of being interrupted.
Well, I think this game is still anybody's game right now, and I do agree that the Dynamo doesn't have to worry about too much. I mean, you still have to definitely think about that telekinesis on entry. You don't want to just get caught by this Wraith. You want to make sure that you're catching the Wraith yourself. So it's something to think about, mind games on both sides. But what worries me is when you look at the soul distribution of Spectre, it's this Mo and Krill who just continues to catch people in these combos. And right behind him, Toxic Dado, who is just a dynamic duo. And then it opens up the Singularity to be the cake, the cherry on top.
Wow, I mean, absolutely huge. This is the Wombo combo, right? The Warp Stone into combo, the Singularity onto all of them, the Affliction and the Concussive Combustion on top of it. That was picture perfect there for Spectre. They lose one, but it's Headless who's going to be right back in the fight, courtesy of the Rejuvenator, and objectives are available for this squad.
This makes me wonder why it was Spectre who banned out the Mo and Krill in game number 1. Bungus is looking absolutely absurd on this hero. It's impressive the way that Bungus has just been able to flip a switch from game 1 into game 2, where you were a non-factor on that McGinnis. Now it's the star of the show with this Mo and Krill pick. And like you said, that Wombo combo between the Mo and Krill, catching somebody in the combo, and Toxic Dado being right behind him every single time. Vassal, they got to take that into consideration every single time they're looking at these fights. You see that Mo and Krill, your gaze, your attention should be towards wherever this Haze is going to be emerging from.
Yeah, and the paradox off the table, I feel like really messes with the Vassal game plan because there's nothing here that throws a wrench into anything, right? The telekinesis is incredibly telegraphed. If you tornado in for an engagement, you're putting yourself in such a bad spot. Whereas before having that paradox, you had the option to really mess things up, right? To slow down or stop any engage, to just misplace somebody by any way, shape, or form. And now that it's gone, Vassal are just forced to group on up, and Spectre are happy to have that happen.
Missing that time wall, too, is just allowing so much damage from all of these heroes. I mean, how many times do we see in game one that time wall really shut down any of that gank potential that Spectre was throwing at them? So it's different not having that paradox, and that's a good shout to be looking at. But we got an urn running right now, and it's in the territory of Vassals, and the wave is pushed up over towards purple, but still working its way on blue. And everybody's grouping up here. You have Wraith with telekinesis, Death Slam. You have just around the corner the Mirage as well, and Lady Geist back over towards green. So everybody actually here for Vassal to meet this one, and ults to boot on their side. Singularity soon, but not there yet. So it looks like this urn's going to be distraction for the moment until these ultimates come online and they can get these waves pushed up a little bit further.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where the game is still close enough that Vassal, there's not much for them to grab, and the only thing for them to grab, and you don't want to give up this urn, because then it does start to feel bad, right? Then you are starting to push over that line of this doesn't feel great. And it was played so incredibly well that look at the posturing, right? The urn plays perfectly into, I don't want to say Spectre's game plan, but against Vassal's game plan, where hey, you want to take that walker? Well, the urn's here, and the rest of our team is here because we want to score this urn. So there's just no way for you to get pressure because we're toying with this urn, right? So Vassal are really handcuffed in this situation.
Bungus is 10k souls ahead of the top player of Vassal on Bruce playing this Wraith. That is
insane.
I love it. I'm a Mo and Krill player, so I love seeing it. But I know from playing this that right now Bungus can do whatever he wants to do. Just catch people out and just run them down. And that's what he's doing best here. The Burrow, no fleet foot, so you can't chase that down. You have the Warp Stone, but really you're just going to look to get out of there. But Bungus is an issue right now for Vassal that they have to find a solution to.
Yeah, and at the point in the game where you're really going to feel those anti-heal nerfs, right? Getting the heal banes, getting the decays, it's not going to do quite the same job as they used to. So that Mo and Krill feeling beefy after the health changes. They've given things up for now. 1:30 until our buffs are back up, and this urn seemingly walking its way back to its starting point. It's going to be picked up by Vassal, actually. Jacuzzi hoping to sneak this one in.
Oh, this is good for Vassal if he can get away, but he's caught with the Sleep Dagger, and you're pushing that Divine Barrier. This is not a smart urn to grab, and you have to show some respect. You can see that Chola's trying to work over towards the blue lane. See if you can get this walker down and really make an issue for this urn run from Vassal. But Spectre, this is kind of like what we said for Vassal, something that you cannot hand over for free. So you can see these players need to put some attention on this urn that's being ran right now.
And they actually take that urn to deal with the creeps here. The lane pushing there, you really risk a lot if you lose this fight somehow, and then the minions or the troopers are pushing into your base. So they do score this here. It looks like they are pressuring the last walker standing uptown Broadway, and they do make good on finding that kill. Now, Spectre, what more can they grab on the back end of this?
So you give up the urn, that's fancy and all, but in turn you take not one but two walkers. That gives you 3 flex slots now active for Spectre, and a lot of souls to spend on those flex slots. You can see a couple of these heroes are sitting around 5k souls. That's going to be just moments away from getting towards these tier 3 items, these 6200 items. That's going to really power spike for a lot of these players, especially Toxic Data or Chola on this pocket.
And Spectre are on the way out, making sure that they take whatever camps they can. So they're really slowing down any chance of coming back for Vassal to find. And then they immediately grab themselves this urn that just pops up once more. If anything, if they're not going to score it, they're keeping it away from Vassal for now.
It's a game of keep away, and this chase, I don't think it's worth it for Vassal, especially when you have no objectives or no walkers or no guardians. You don't want to, potentially give an offer over towards a solo push.
Oh my
but
God.
Pungus again on the combo. And Marky to Sharky, there's nothing you can do when you're run down by a Moan Krill.
Yeah, if there's any follow-up at all, just like we saw there, Marky gets absolutely deleted. And it's awful. It's bad timing because you'd love to have your Lash to try and stop a mid-boss.
Oh, last Walker.
Ooh, the Walker does go down. They pick something up. Bite Size trying to teleport away. So Traveler used to sneak away, back up with the team. But mid-boss is still on the menu here for Spectre.
Are they going to proc this one? They have Singularity and Affliction. Combo's not going to be too far away. They have a lot of ultimates to safely get this, and you're walking into a trap right now for Vassal. This is a good call for Spectre. They were doing this against Skyline a lot. It seems like bait, but it's all a trap.
Yeah, I mean, the rejuve's there. Who's going to grab it? Spectre does find the secure. The rest of the squad here is in the mix for Vassal. Frozen Shelter is out. It's going to buy some time and some space. Keep those health bars topped up, but it's only for a second. It's a moment of respite before they get absolutely cut down inside the pit. Bite Size, who teleported away before, cannot do it again. And it's 4 members to fall on the off the back end of that objective.
That trap is just so deadly. You feel like you can go in and steal it. The telekinesis actually shuts down the Singularity, but it does not stop that lead from Spectre from just tearing through the rest of Vassal. The players go down. The base bosses are down. The shrines should be next, and you'd be lucky to stay alive right now if you're Bruce. Dead are 6 members of the side of Vassal. As soon as these shrines go down to the patron, a couple of them should respawn, but right now for Spectre, this lead is getting too hot to handle.
And it's just a little heartbreaking that Bruce was fighting tooth and nail inside their spawn to get that kill onto Chola and doesn't even get the kill. Eventually dies himself. And on top of it all, your base just gets absolutely pillaged, and the urn was secured by OFE, who picked that up. It wasn't there in the team fight. I mean, that right there, it is sunshine and rainbows on the side of Spectre now.
And look at this. Things just getting better and better. You see superior cooldown for Asuka on this Infernus. I imagine that's going to be for just faster concussive combustions. You see the Moan Krills at 41k souls. Tanner, that is basically a full build Moan Krill right there, and anything more is just buffing out all the nooks and crannies that is the Moan Krill's builds, who are technically very, very basic builds. It doesn't take much to get Moan Krill active, and Bungus is feeling good here, swapping away from that McGinnis. It's a very successful swap, to say the least, but issues right now for Vassal is going to be the soul. The rejuvenator is actually still active on Spectre. Nobody died on exit, so they're going to be playing tower defense right now on their weakened patron, and they have to be careful to slowly chip away at these waves until that rejuvenator is gone, so that they can look to take a fight.
So we just got to look at all the builds. Arcane Surge, I saw it on Wraith last game. I'm not too sure if Bruce is running it this game, but it's on the Moan Krill. Bungus has his Arcane Surge, right? So, okay, let's take a peek here. No, not seeing the Arcane Surge. Imagine a world where your Moan Krill dashes in, warp stones on top of you because they have Arcane Surge, gets 20% range on their combo, 20% duration, and 20 spirit power on the combo as well, right? That item is making Bungus insane. Now, that's not all that has made Bungus. Bungus has had a turnaround game. Mind you, gave up first blood this game, right? This Moan Krill.
2 deaths.
I criticized Bungus a little bit for going for the what do they call it? Cinder Sacrifice, the slot machines, right? The vending machines. In instances where I thought maybe he shouldn't be, but look at that, 44k soul lead. It's not all from the Cinder Sacrifice, but just staying farmed up on this Moan Krill has led to a beefcake that can combo you and survive in the face of danger.
And after, everything was said and done here, I see OFE grabs Boundless Spirit as well as Diviner's Kevlar. So this last stands for The Warden might be the only stand that you really need because of just how much you're going to be doing with that Boundless Spirit in terms of lifesteal, just staying alive in that front line. You don't have the Unstoppable, which you see a lot of players in Europe go for. I was kind of mentioning that. Gets rid of the debuffs for anti-heal and gives really full power to that last stand, but it's still powerful for OFE, and really OFE is not the one that you're going to be paying attention to if you're Spectre or if you're Vassal taking on Spectre. You got more to deal with. That's Bungus with this Warp Stone just tracking people down.
Nobody is safe. You cannot get too close. Marky forced to back away from what was looking like an engage from Spectre.
12 ultimates.
Yeah, if everybody is loaded and ready to go, it does look like Vassal want to fight for this urn. The unfortunate thing is, what else do you fight for, right? You can't make plays across the map. We do see the Mirage. Wave control, wave management, can use that Traveler to get back with the team if necessary. And now it's, you know, who goes first in this situation?
Bungus isn't here right away. If the timing is interrupted, they could catch somebody out, but Bungus is back. It's a 6-on-6. This is going to be a bloodbath. This is hard to follow.
Yeah, Urn picked up once more. Dado on the back line. We're on top of the roofs here. Getting slowed down is Bungus. We also have Chola getting caught in all the mix there from Marky. Looking to go aggressive and push on forward. Here comes the combustion, though. Looking for the stuns as Bite Size is the first to fall in this fight. Asuka's looking for a target. Will find Marky. Kinetic Pulse will send him through the roof, and the Death Slam comes through just in time, but it's not enough to survive. Having to use the Death Slam defensively will be the downfall of the Vassal squad here. 2 players fall, and I cannot imagine the 4 that remain will be alive much longer as Spectre head towards the base.
You're rolling out the red carpet. You still got Bullet Dance, Combo, and Singularity. So this is a moment where you can look to end, but mid-boss spawns, and that is a delicacy.
Yeah, a no-brainer. It's, you know, hey, 2 are dead. Can we look to do anything here? You hear the mid-boss spawn, and you immediately tuck tail and turn the other direction, about face back towards that huge objective, and there's just nothing in response. And it's been a 30,000 soul lead, you know, plus or minus a couple of thousand for so long now. Vassal just have not found a way to get their feet underneath them.
I think it's safe to say this is going game 3.
Yeah.
This is just, it would be the biggest throw in Deadlock history if Spectre don't win with what they have right now. The Rejuvenator, a soul lead by 30k, maybe a little bit more. And this is just everything pointing to them. You see that they are sieging the base with wave after wave, and these aren't just any waves. These are buffed out minions on top of the Rejuvenator that they have. This fight is looking to end it all as Spectre walking into the base with the red carpet down.
Yeah, and they don't even have everybody here just yet. Chola's still looking to work way on over.
Oh,
they don't even want to fight. They're going straight for the patron, and there's nothing here to stop them. Death Slam, maybe. Singularity going to slow things down. Here comes the Death Slam to throw them all.
Respect to Vassal, like we would have seen them. They ran through Skyline yesterday, and they had so much confidence. They go for their, I guess, tried and true triple carry setup. It doesn't work this time. A very, very serious composition with the Mo and Krill on Bungus. Chola back on that pocket. You can see both of them just doing numbers in terms of eliminations, but look at how together this team was in terms of 2. So going into game 3, I expect that. Mo and Krill banned immediately from Vassal. Keep it away from Bungus. Obviously, you don't want him playing it. So Vassal getting that Amber handpick on the ban really helps out with that. Paradox ban for Spectre. You were kind of talking about Paradox in game number 1 and how that was really, say, the placeholder for the strategy of this team. And for Vassal missing it in game number 2, you could really see it that it wasn't really that engaged to a lot of fights. They were more reacting to a lot of fights, and you weren't really having somebody like a Paradox to, you know, catch a player who is looking to make a play and displacing them into the opposite team. I think, you know, so not having that Paradox again, where does Vassal go with this composition to maybe put that in, put that idea into their team comp? Who do they grab?
Yeah, and so working through the bans with Mo banned away, Paradox banned away, like you said, that leaves the Viscous available, and we are getting it locked in for Spectre. So Headless maybe is playing that Viscous as a support Viscous. We'll have to see how that one pans out. Now, I was wondering, if we would just get, because we're going back to Vassal, Amberhand, Spectre, Sapphire Flame, that's what it was in game 1, Pocket being picked up right away. Do we just get the same comp, right? Or close to the same comp? Because now we can't with that paradox. But I do think there is a world where having Dynamo, not being able to pick up Mo and Krill, not being able to grab Paradox, that the Lash feels a little more enticing this time around.
Maybe.
Whereas that is your pick potential. That is your, hey, now we're going to decide what to do. And it's not so much Lash just trying to have to defensive alt this team of Spectre that we're running you down.
But it's the thing is that, like, every single time that we saw the Lash, it was a defensive death slam, or, the death slams were just missing. And that's difficult for a Lash to make sure that you're getting a death slam, because you're always burdened with the idea of, unlike the singularity, that it's really easy to catch somebody off guard and just grab them. The death slam, it's not easy to just burn it on one person, because if you waste it on one person and it doesn't hit, you're sitting there feeling like an absolute clown that you just used that. So you're always looking for the perfect mark. And it's why I just have a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth, for seeing Lash in compositions, because it just puts such a burden to that player to really make that Lash work. It almost felt like Shiv after the Shiv nerf came through, and then people were just trying to make the Shiv work. It's just, you have to do so much that you're losing out on the certain aspects of the game that others can fill a lot better. So, maybe we'll see the Lash come out. We haven't seen a Yamato get picked on either side all day long, and I'm not sure if that's in case to the patch that we just saw, if players just aren't playing Yamato right now, or if that's just maybe preference for these teams. I know Yamato is definitely a hero that you have to feel comfortable in playing, so potentially, these players just aren't comfortable in going towards the Yamato. But we saw OFV on that Yam yesterday. Still Wraith's open, Mirage is open, you have Infernus open, Lady Geist, McGinnis, 7 player heroes that we did see get picked already for today. And Wraith going this deep is very shocking. Very shocking.
So I agree that a Lash pickup, it does desire some sort of perfection. Now I'm almost, I don't want to say I'm confident. I'm going to say 60% we probably still get the Lash, just based off now that the Wraith is picked away. That was my other thought at, okay, how do we pick somebody off? Let's grab the Wraith. The problem is we see the weakness of Vassal now. The weakness is their roles aren't really fleshed out. So not having fleshed out. I think we agreed on fleshed out. Not having the superstar players, whoever those may be, means that some of these players are put into weird roles where your Dynamo is Bruce, but your Wraith is also Bruce, and it just feels a little awkward. So I would think that a Lash would really round out this team well. If not a Lash, maybe a Warden that can just stop somebody in their tracks. Hey, no further. Or you obviously on the other side can just go ahead and jump on in. It's a Lady Geist instead. And this is the most surprising to me. We're getting Spectre, who are seemingly sapping themselves again. They must have come up with a plan since game 1 as to how they can get all 3 of these carries online.
Like I said, you don't put the ice guy and the fire guy on the same team.
You just don't do it.
It just doesn't happen. But we're getting that again, and it definitely has me a little bit worried. You have the Viscous this time, so maybe maybe I'm just a Viscous hater, and this is going to just completely shed some light on Viscous being banned all the time for North America. But I still prefer what I'm seeing from Vassal, how strong they were back in game number 1 with this core composition. Switching the Paradox out for the Lady Geist, I don't think it's going to change anything whatsoever. That Lady Geist is still such a good hero to have, but bite size on this Abrams was such a forefront to that game number 1 that I cannot see this team struggling like they did in game number 2 in that way. And I'm really worried for Spectre and going back towards this Wraith, Infernus, Haze pick, because game number 2 worked so well for Toxic Dado that I'm worried that you're not going to get that same emphasis on Haze in this game 3 that we did get in game number 2.
And I am crying grown man, ancient old man in esport world tears if we get a Bungus McGinnis. I'm thinking a little bit more that the Viscous might be going the way of Bungus, but if we get Bungus McGinnis, there has to be a plan. In game 1, it seemed like there was no plan. It's actually going to be the Yamato, so Bungus should be rocking that Viscous headless on that Kelvin, and we are underway.
We are, and yeah, we hit the nail on the head with everybody playing what they are on for the side of Spectre. Jacuzzi back on this Lady Geist instead of the Paradox. Will that shift enough away from this composition that was so successful in game 1? I don't think so. I think that Lady Geist is still a very strong hero in terms of having that dueling capability and shifting some fights. Even if you do go low in that health, having that soul exchange is definitely a very favorable tool in your back pocket. But this is something that I'm going to be eager to see the outcome for, is the Yamato versus the Abrams in this lane. Obviously, you see how much respect is being shown towards Bite Size from Asuka.
And our first look at Viscous on the day was banned a couple of times yesterday, banned a couple of times today. Now we're finally starting to see that one in the hands of Bungus. And that makes me think, right, we saw how strong Bungus could be on the Mo and Krill. It makes me think that without the Mo and without the Viscous in the previous games, because game 1 it was a Viscous Mo ban, that forces Bungus to play that McGinnis, and it didn't look that great. So,
no, it didn't.
I think they were foreshadowing that Bungus is a sick Viscous, and we should be seeing just that as Bite Size standing their ground. Asuka's forced to back away towards that shop. Market to Sharky also want to come for a pick here in this pocket. So good on the pocket in game 1. So this is as comfortable basically as it gets for Vassal as a whole.
I know a big part of that, Yamato kit that's been, I'd say, tailored down from the solo lane pressure was that power slash becoming a lot more finite in terms of actually having to hit your targets with this patch. So you can see here that just you're not really getting as much damage as you normally see from a Yamato, and it's just pretty sure it's because this power slash just is a lot more difficult to land than it was just before that patch yesterday. So it's going to be something to see if Asuka's can really, manage in terms for this one-on-one, but we're seeing a lot of pressure come out from the side of Spectre in terms of these Guardians now. They've completely shoved blue under tower or under Guardian, and even green is looking good as well, the Wraith Kelvin matchup. So maybe this Viscous was the key to the code.
I mean, it definitely unlocks something in lane for Datto that is, the Haze can play a little more aggressive because there is that fallback. There is that safety of you can get cubed, and that might be the key to getting more farm, right? Getting more souls as Chola getting forced. I mean, just out of range, actually fighting away from the Guardian there, just trying to find any sort of cover. He does survive as that power surge chains between troopers and the Infernus. Chola not having a great day. This is very reminiscent of our first game, and Bite Size actually maybe looking to give up first blood here and on the hunt as Asuka's looking for him underneath. A couple of right clicks later, and the ability's not needed. It's a light melee to get it done, and it's Bite Size, the first one gone.
And I want to say that's the first time in all 4 games, or all 5 games that we've watched from Spectre, that they've actually got first blood. This team usually is looking devastating and or devastated in the laning phases of their matches. They are more of a late game team, but Chola's struggling over towards purple, and that's scary because you saw the decision from Chola to kind of move from that natural cover while the static charge was stunning him, and that just allows Elusive to slowly burn away from this Infernus. And Elusive 0.4k souls up over Chola right now. That's going to be pretty much an item in this laning phase ahead as soon as that 0.5 is coming up for Elusive. So it's a little scary for your friendly neighborhood Infernus.
And Crazed Panda is also the first one to have their ult online here, so that airdrop could be used here shortly to try and get something back in one of these lanes for Vassal, as we do see Asuka's pushing up against Bite Size, forced underneath the Guardian though. Marky to Sharky just trying to survive behind, but the cards doing heaps of damage still. We'll send out the barrage to try and deter OFE from continuing to push on forward, but they stand at the steps and they continue to farm.
Well, now you have Telekinesis and the Frozen Shelter for Spectre, both in that green lane, so something to worry about. Affliction online, same with that airdrop and the Singularity. You have ultimates for the Lady Geist as well as the 7 as well, the Storm Cloud and the Soul Exchange. But here we get a gank coming out from the pocket. Asuka is going to be caught by the shoulder charge, and Affliction isn't even needed to find the kill on the Yamato with a wave push that deep. That's going to be some heavy damage onto the Guardian.
Headless is going to try and respond here. No, never mind. Just hits the brakes and heads right back to lane. They're going to try and get some pressure on Crazed Panda, who's been left alone downtown Greenwich, as that Guardian does eventually fall. And that's just bad timing. Asuka's looking to get a little aggressive on bite size right as Marky Sharky shows up.
So if they get the full Guardian, that's impressive. Bungus here with the Goo Ball, looking to help out on the side of Chola to take down Elusive. So gank for gank might be some pressure onto this Guardian for Chola to trade things out objective-wise. You need to get most likely not walking out alive. So I really want Bungus to just do some damage, a little bit of a drive-by, and wave clear. Most of this one is not something that you're going to be looking to fight just yet.
No, that is the call. Just slowly make their way back into lane. Has that healing right on. It has since been knocked off. Meanwhile, this Greenwich lane, it's been mobile. We've seen Crazed Panda leaving lane. Still has the airdrop available. Marky Sharky just left to help take that Guardian. And I think they're just staying in the area to help Bite Size, who's stealing away some of these camps to try and further hurt Asuka's in this lane. But how much are they going to give up here? They do make their way back on in. OFE and Headless have been pressuring Greenwich this entire game. If they could just get a little love, a little extra help, it would be huge. Instead, it's Vassal looking to get aggressive here inside the satchel. Marky goes. Airdrop gets used. Frozen Shelter just to slow things down for a second. OFE out to safety. Headless matches that same presence. And just around the corner was Bruce. That is a great call to get out of dodge.
Frozen Shelter actually to nullify the effects of the airdrop knockup. So here we're coming back in. Telekinesis is here. No Frozen Shelter, but do you look for it? You don't have it maxed out, so you're not going to get the chain to other characters. I really prefer this call from Spectre. You still have Asuka lower, about 1k souls behind the rest of the lobby. And that's not something that you're going to say, okay, Asuka's, come help us out here. You need Asuka's to just farm.
And that's exactly what he's doing. Moving through between the lanes, trying to find crates, find urns, anything to help get this soul lead to be anything but a soul lead. Meanwhile, Chola is, in the face of Elusive, and there hasn't been a response yet from Vassal. They are A-okay to leave that 7 on their lonesome as long as that Guardian is still standing. We go toe-to-toe. Finally, OFE and Headless maybe looking like they can fight. No, they are just going to walk away after, again, a small exchange.
Blue Guardian very, very low. Vassal has been commanding that lane so far in terms of pressure. But we're getting another Goo Ball gank onto Elusive. He's going to be caught, stunned up by the combustion. And that should be the kill onto the 7 shortly. No, assistance has arrived. And Chola is actually going to be found. The Storm Cloud from Elusive. And you're in enemy territory if you're Bungus. This is one sad Goo Cube because you're not getting away. Finds the kill onto Elusive at least, but it's a 2-for-1 trade. You don't even get the objective.
Yeah, and you talked about how low the health was on this Guardian. Bungus leaving just leaves this wide open. No way Toxic Data was in any way, shape, or form going to push forward and try and defend that one. So forced to give up the objective after going 1 for 2 in way of kills.
It's a bad trade.
It's a very bad trade, and it is very reminiscent of game number 1 where Vassal were walking in and taking everything they needed.
And Spectre were just a little too ahead of themselves. So right there we see it again where that Goo Ball was so successful before. This time finds nothing. Wave pressure has been just non-stop in terms of Vassal in every lane but Purple. But even Purple is just very healthy in terms of staying ahead. In the souls, you see Elusive is tied up with Chola. In terms of that soul lead, you're seeing Bite Size start to get ahead. Toxic Dado this time is doing a lot better in terms of farming. Toxic Dado at 8k alongside Bite Size as well as the Lady Geist of Jacuzzi. And that just goes to show that they're putting a lot more emphasis on Toxic Dado being the difference maker for these future fights.
Yeah, and you see Vassal trying to push this line of scrimmage the other way so they can secure these buffs, and they get both of them. So Spectre forced to give those up. Airdrop comes through, and it's a little bit of Guardian damage onto Crazed Panda. I mean, a 4,000 soul lead plus 2 buffs. That just makes Vassal feel that much stronger. Urn available. I can't imagine we see it too soon because we are basically still at this, line of scrimmage 1-2-2-1 across the map. And as I say that, it's actually Bruce to step on over and help Elusive this time around as Chola is underneath the Guardian.
Yeah, so let's see if Chola can handle things the way that Elusive was able to in this solo lane. You can see that help is coming through, a trade and damage for the rest of them. These card tricks just chipping away at bite size with the wave is being cut down, but first to fall here in the fight is looking to be the side of this blue Guardian for Vassal. You see that you're being pressured out here if you're Jacuzzi in a 2-on-1. So that's going to call from the gank from the rest. Elusive as well as Bruce coming to the aid of this Lady Geist, but it's too little too late. Spectre, they're long gone.
Yeah, Uptown Broadway opened up. Uptown Park, Uptown York. It's really only Greenwich that Spectre have to hang on to, but the real prize has already happened, right? You grab a couple of Guardians, you get yourself a flex slot, and now you can open things up to things like the Divine Barrier that we're seeing here on Crazed Panda. Flirting with the idea of grabbing this urn. We'll see if that is going to be the call. Has the airdrop available, which, again, Ivy, there it is. Okay, perfect timing there from Crazed Panda, and we'll now try and get this one secured safely. We'll see how much of a wall of defense Spectre pieced together.
She's zooming across the map.
Gone.
Airdrop's already there. Nobody's going to battle this one. And instead, in reaction, they're going to TP Chola over towards yellow. Pressure out bite size. Try to grab this Guardian. See if they can find an objective in trade. They have to be careful not to lose their walker over towards purple. You see Toxic Dado flirting with the idea of fighting this one. Vassal have the right idea. One objective for the other, but the walker is just too important. Chola has to get back.
Yeah, man, I would have loved to have seen a teleport play from Vassal to stop that Guardian play. It was so healthy, but instead, they just get some pressure off the back of that urn. Zaskas does get stunned up. That's the 7 stun down. Fight, though, in between the lanes here. Vassal may be overstaying their welcome as they continue to push uptown, but they've since returned to their half of the map. Bungus is looking, though. No goo ball. This is maybe not the place that you want to be. If you could goo ball into 4, that would have been great. Instead, Bungus just shows up for the family photo and backs away.
Yeah, they get the Marky to Sharky as well, so a kill into the pocket. But look at the kind of state of game so far. 1 Guardian on both sides and every single walker still alive. So flex slots are open. The issue is that play over towards yellow as we get bite size looking to escape, grabs that green Guardian. Now no Guardians for Vassal, but with yellow getting pressured out the way it was, so much damage onto that blue walker right now. There's no way you live here if you're bite size. No, you don't. But that blue walker now is looking to get pressured fully out by Vassal. And this is where Spectre were really struggling back in game 1, was just keeping these objectives alive.
Yeah, I mean, you put so much emphasis into trying to kill bite size. You do it, but all for what, right? That 4K soul lead now grows to a 7K soul lead. So it's continuously incremental here for the squad. A Singularity scoops up 2. Asuka's forced to use the ultimate there. Bungus comes through. He's got that goo ball online, but it's the affliction to stop the healing from anybody here and start to tick away the health bars, and Vassal are on the chase.
Oh, very low is Bungus. You're going low as well. If you're headless in Asuka, you're going to drop. You got the Guardian or the Walker on yellow. So the objective trade was worth it to say the least for Spectre, but still a 4K soul lead. So that lead from the laning phase is still the same. This time, though, with 10 seconds on the respawn, they're going to drop 4 players into the mid-boss and see if they can rush a mid-boss at 14 minutes and 30 seconds.
I mean, and what is the response, right? There really isn't one. Fortunately for Spectre, they're able to pick some stuff up on the outside. They pick up that kill onto Elusive. Now they pressure another walker. But it's a situation where Vassal can just throw caution to the wind. They can try and fight for everything right now because their resets are so quick. And, I mean, it's not even the walker. It's literally just pushing the wave that direction.
Yeah.
And you grabbed a kill but lost mid-boss for that.
I mean, you're looking at 17 minutes and around 35 seconds is when this Rejuvenator is going to be finished off. And that's 3 minutes now where really Vassal can use this lead to just poke and prod, find that hole, try to test the limits of what Spectre can deal with this composition that they've already triumphed over in game number 1. The confidence is high for Vassal, and this is what they did a lot, is as soon as they had this small little lead, you know, being Rejuvenator, it's just put this Ivy on the urns and get it from side to side and crack this soul lead open.
This is one of the few times where I'm really seeing Ivy get that value there. Is Bite Size caught in between two. Does take OFE with him. That's the Bite Size motto right there, is at least get one. And that 16,000 soul Abrams does do just that. But it's a 16,000 soul Abrams. You cannot afford to have that guy die, right? You lose your Wraith. You still have your Infernus. You still have your Haze. You still have Bungus. Very healthy carries. Without Bite Size, it doesn't feel great. Fortunately, Rejuve gets him back in the fight. Frozen Shelter going to buy some time for the Walker and maybe the kills as Marky sends out the Flying Cloak to just pressure Headless off of the Walker, and objective secured.
It's another Walker for Walker, too. Bungus sneaks all the way down green and takes that green Walker away from Vassal. So you still see the mind of Spectre just trying to go toe-to-toe with this team. Spectre, though, have to pay attention to what is a force of 6 players from Vassal sneaking up green and looking to get this third Walker in a flex slot.
Yeah, they are pressuring the Walker here. Dado maybe getting caught out. Marky on the outside, just playing zoning here to make sure nobody walks up on this. And it is a Walker essentially for free. They take the Walker and they head back home.
I mean, you have that Rejuvenator still, too. So it's not a fight that Spectre seem like they're willing to take. They're on the back foot and they know they're on the back foot. So one wrong step into uncharted territory, and all of that floor can come crumbling out from underneath you. So it's slow and steady right now for Spectre, and that was their motto back in the semifinals versus Skyline. So hopefully for this team, they can resurface at some point. Vassal seems like they're slowly walking away with things, and really comfortably so. It's a lot of deja vu from what we got back in game 1. We keep referencing it for good reason, is because this composition for Spectre it didn't work, and it didn't come close to working. So it's a lot of question marks in why they're doing it again.
It feels very similar to the first, like you mentioned. Is okay, that's not just me. Things get a little crazy. Pocket breaking the server here. They jump on in, force Bungus away, and that's scary. Right now you have these situations where Vassal are in spots where they just take ones and they're forcing Spectre to run away. They're chipping away the health bars, and Spectre just has to tuck tail and run every single time.
Well, part of the interruption for everything, folks. I mean, I'm sure we're trying to get this tested and back to as normal as can be, fast as possible. Should be good. I don't want to caster curse it, though, so I'm just going to stop talking about it, Tanner. Let's move forward into what seems like Vassal are slowly culminating over towards the purple side of the map, the right side of the mini-map, to see if they can maybe toy for the idea of a fight leading into this Walker, leading into the eternal demise of Spectre.
Oh, and yeah, Toxic Dino getting caught out. I mean, before Toxic Dino can do anything, gets damaged so much. Fortunately saved there. I think a rescue beam out of danger into safety. And this is only 5 players here from
quickly fallen to the wayside, because now you still have 2 Walkers up if you're Spectre on the opposite end, and you just lost your tier 1 patron.
Yeah, that right there, heartbreaking. We jump back into it, and a few members are dead. Now you're looking at nearly a 20k soul deficit. Urn available, and it doesn't feel like it's available for Spectre. It feels like Vassal are going to be able to take that urn however and wherever they would like.
It really just seems like you don't have to wait for any power spike here for Vassal. Yeah, the 7's going to catch up as you continue to find success, but this pocket is so strong even early. The Abrams, you see how powerful he could be in Bite-Size's hands, and you know, Dynamo, you don't have to have a lot of souls on Dynamo to find value. You just need good timing. And when you have just this lead that just continues to grow, the power scaling, it's so comfortable for this composition of Vassal. And it's not the same where Spectre, if you want your Haze to be good, you have to farm. If you want your Infernus to be good, you have to farm. Same thing with Wraith. You're just slowly waiting for these power spikes to come alive. And I do like Asuka's going over to this Yamato, but it just doesn't seem like Yamato is enough to fix these issues.
I mean, really, Yamato is just another carry, right? Another hero that needs souls to be strong. Sure,
it's like a wee bit buffer.
Yeah, and this is the same thing where I thought they may have figured out, right? How do we keep ourselves from sapping the strength, having 3 hyper carries on the team, and then they kind of add a 4th. So if they had a solution, if they had a fix, it really goes out the window as things slow down, because Asuka's needs to get their way into the mix as well. And speaking of being in the mix, they're deep inside of the jungle here for Spectre, and Spectre are trying to find something to trade, but it's being defended. The standing souls that are here are being defended, and unfortunately Chola is the only one with the mind that they should try and stop the urn, and they get punished for it.
Long gets caught off guard. The cube is active, but he's going to be heavy meleeed all the way back. Static charge, and Bungus is dead. 4v6 now. 40-second respawn timer for Bungus, and you can see slowly Chola is chipping away at that timer as well. You don't have that tier 1 patron to knock off 20 seconds from it when it does go down, so this is it for Spectre, and it just seems like Vassal are ready to take their crown.
And the patron's already been reset, right? So there's no 20 seconds back on the death timers here. This is just Vassal able to walk in and take down the weakened patron, and there is nothing Spectre can do about it. Singularity to try and slow down the fight that's coming here from the remaining members of the Sapphire Flame, but the Amber Hand is promptly above it to snuff.
Timing on these singularities. You even saw towards the end they're catching Toxic Dado again and again and just isolating him away from these fights. You're just nullifying the effects of...